Hi and welcome to this tutorial for the Filters and Finish panel in Raya Pro. As with most of the panels in Raya Pro, you can enable tooltips, which allows you to hover your mouse over a function and the tooltip will tell you what that function does. Now, if you're looking to improve your photography and bring it to a completely new level, I highly recommend my Art of Photography course, which is my best-selling course. It will give you great compositional tips, show you advanced post-processing techniques, including exposure blending, a whole range of scenes like long exposures, seascapes, vertiramas, panoramas, cityscapes, landscapes. There's a huge amount of information there, and you'll get some shooting tips too. Now, returning to this tutorial, to the left here, in the top left, we have our filters. And these are just simple filters. So you can click on one, try it out. If it works, that's great. If it doesn't, then you don't need to use it. So this one is cinematic green. And I really like it in this image. It gives it a really green kind of soft, moody feel. So there's before and there's after. I really like that. And the great thing with these filters is they're non-destructive. You can affect every layer and change it to whatever suits your needs. Now also in Filters and Finish, we have this section here called Your Actions. Now, if you scroll down this web page where you're viewing the video, underneath that, you will see a video that will show you how to use this section. It's from an older version of Raya Pro, but it's exactly the same setup and it functions in exactly the same way. Below that video, you will also see the link you will need to download the actions. And essentially what this will allow you to do is to record your own actions and to be able to access them in this panel here. So please visit that video to see how to use and set up your actions. Now continuing here to the right, we have more functionality. We have reduce noise, and this will use Photoshop's noise removal function to remove noise from any part of our image. So of course you can play with the different sliders and decide what's best for your image. Now clean chromatic aberration, this button here, I'm not going to show you how to do that now because I've found a really great way incorporating this with Instamask to remove all chromatic aberration from your photos. And you can do it relatively quickly too. So again, if you scroll down after you've watched this video, below the Your Actions video, you'll see a video showing you how to use the clean chromatic aberration function in Instamask to get rid of that CA. The next function we're looking at is light vignette, and this will give your image a light vignette. But I prefer the man vignette, and this is manual vignette. So let's go to this photo and let's say we want our viewers to look at this light here. We don't want them necessarily to be distracted by the outside of the image. Well, we can do that by crafting a manual vignette. So I'll press that and you'll see we've not only created some new layers here, we've also selected a brush and a white foreground. And with dark selected, I could paint with a big brush on the outside of the image. This is our vignette here. And it's okay if it's a little bit strong. Now I can select the bright layer and press once in the middle of this image. In fact, I can do it a couple of times just to make it a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to bring down the opacity of this dark layer a little bit. And now I'm going to do a before and after. So this is before we created that vignette. You see we have a very open scene where everything's pretty much equally bright. And now we're pushing the viewer towards that light source. You see how great that is? It's such a fantastic mood builder. I highly recommend that you use that. Elsewhere in the Filters and Finish panel, we also have sharpen functions. And in fact, I'm going to show you how to do that on my Milford Sound image. So we can sharpen full, and that is using the high pass sharpen in Photoshop. And it's a standard high pass sharpen function. But here we have sharpen no edge. And essentially what this is going to do is remove the edging we often get when we sharpen images. So you'll notice we have some black lines up here, and they are the edges in our photos. So if I can exaggerate those black lines, try and make them big and thick, they are going to be excluded from our sharpening effect. So I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger like that. Maybe bring the mid-zone slider along a little bit. Maybe bring the shadow slider along a bit. And when we've outlined our edges, because these edges here tend to go white when we're sharpening, I can press OK. And here we'll come up with a fairly standard unsharp mask dialog. Now I'm going to make that strong just so you can see what's going on in the video. And then I'm going to press OK. Now with that done, let's zoom in to this edge here. So I've made it strong, so you're going to see some excessive noise as well in the sky, but we're also zoomed in 326%. Now, there's before and there's after. Now, when I disable the mask, watch the edging appear around here. So disable the mask, you see we've now got some edging, but with the mask enabled, that edging has disappeared. And if we zoom out a little bit, you won't see that it's slightly soft. It looks completely normal, and a lot worse if we don't have the mask there. So it's a fantastic way to sharpen your image without edging. So just so you can see the before and after here in the bits where we have sharpened. Now also in the filters and finish tab, you'll see frequency separation 16, frequency separation 8. Now the one you choose depends on the mode that you're working in. So if we go to image and mode, you can see right now I'm working in 8, and that's just because I'm recording videos, and anything higher than that will slow my computer down. So I usually work in 16-bit, in which case I would use frequency separation 16-bit. Now it does require a little bit of explanation and demonstration for what frequency separation does. And again, I've created a really useful video for you using an older version of Raya Pro, but it's still completely applicable to this version, which will show you some really cool functionality for frequency separation. I really recommend you check that video out. Another cool function we have here is sharpen and resize for the web. So this is basically going to prepare our images for the web. So if I press by width, it'll ask how wide do we want our image in pixels. So historically, Facebook was optimal at 2048 width. I don't know if that's necessarily the case now. These things change quite quickly, but nevertheless, this function will resize your image perfectly and also leave it really sharp. You'll be left with a base image here which is unsharpened. Then the next one up is a little bit sharper. The next one after that is a little bit sharper. And the one after that is really sharp. So it's up to you what strength of sharpness you'd like to use. And next, to finish off, we have a couple more functions up here to talk about. We have reveal dust and detail enhance. Now there shouldn't be any sensor dust in my image here, but if you want to reveal the sensor dust in your image, the first thing you need to do is click merge. And that will create a non-destructive merge layer, and then click reveal dust. And what you'll be left with is a really messy image. It'll look like there's a huge amount of noise, but don't worry about that. It's purposefully exaggerated. And you'll see we do have some sensor dirt here. So to get rid of that, all we do is we make our reveal sensor dust layer invisible. Choose, of course, the stamp tool or the patch tool. Just select around here and exchange it for a different part of the image. And there you go. We've removed our sensor dirt. And when we're finished, we just delete that layer. So we also have a detail enhance function. And you might remember in the dodge and burn panel, we have some detail enhancers here. But this one is a little bit different, and I actually prefer this one. So I'm going to demonstrate it on a different image for you. So here I'm going to enhance the details throughout this photo, and I press detail enhance, and it might take a little bit of time for this to take effect. So I usually leave the settings to around about 34, press OK. And then you'll see we have a hugely detailed image here, which we don't necessarily want. So we can apply the detail enhance just to the highlights or just to the shadows. So if I press shadows in the hub, we've now concentrated it more in the shadows. I can adjust that to make it much more targeted. So it's just the darker shadows that are affected. It's not quite as intense. So there's before and after. So let's look at the mask. I'll disable the mask. That's what happened before we added a mask. And that's the final result. And I'm just going to zoom in just to show you the detail enhance here. It creates a lovely effect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more just so you can see it on the video. Before and after. You see it brings out some gorgeous textures. But the great thing about this detail enhance is that it's less likely than other methods to create strong halos. So I really do recommend you use this function. It's very, very useful. And let's check up here, see if that's made a difference. Yeah, we've added some gorgeous textures in there too. And with the rest of the filters and finish panel, they're fairly self-explanatory. So this allows us to save our file as different file formats. And this allows us to change the color profile of the image we're working on. And that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.